Hello, and welcome back, my beauties. My name is Diane. For those of you who are new here, welcome. Now, ladies, I just wanted to get on here and record this quick video because it's so crucial in tying together the first two topics that we discussed in our first two videos. For those of you who haven't yet watched my first two videos, I'm going to leave a link in the description box below, so be sure to check that out at the end of this video. And before we move straight in, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let's get straight into it. Now, today's video, we're going to cover the difference between standards and boundaries. What are they? We hear it all the time, and how important they are in maintaining our self-care, our self-love, and also keeping ourselves safe and just living a more stress-free life. Standards and boundaries. Sometimes we hear persons using these terms interchangeably. However, they are quite different from each other, but they do work hand in hand. So let's talk a bit about standards. What are standards? Standards is that minimum requirement that a person must have based on your personal preferences before you decide to entertain an intimate relationship with that person. In essence, your standards are those desirable traits in another person that you have decided that they must possess before you decide to entertain a date, go meet up with them, or entertain any form of intimacy with that person. Some examples of standards that you may have for yourself can be things like this person must be family oriented, maybe a person who's athletic, a person that reads a lot. Maybe if you're Christian, Muslim, Hindu, you require that person to be of the same religious faith as you. Who's into arts, maybe you're an artsy person and you'd like that person to have the same interests as you or similar interests as you. Those are some examples of what standards can look like in our lives. Standards are pretty straightforward. It's personal to you. You get to decide what your standards are or how high you'd like to set them. Now, you don't ever allow a person to talk you out of your standards, because your standards is the bar, that measuring stick by which a person has to meet you at in order to qualify to have access to you. Ladies, if at any point you have a bit of gray area or confusion about this area in your life, your standards, you're not clear about them, I suggest that you get a pen and paper, or even on the notes on your phone. Start brainstorming about those prerequisites, those qualifications, those characteristics, anything that you think are desirable to you that would add value to your life if you do decide to give that person a chance to get to know you. Moving right along, boundaries. Now, boundaries are a tad bit more complex, so let's break this down further. Okay, so what's the definition of a boundary? Let's hear what Wikipedia has to say. Personal boundaries are the guidelines, rules, or limits that a person creates to identify for themselves what are reasonable, safe, and permissible ways for other people to behave towards him or her, and how they will respond when someone steps past those limits. I think that's a pretty sound definition. In essence, as I like to describe them, boundaries are the walls and the fences that we erect around ourselves, expressing to people that these are no-go areas and there are consequences if they trespass. I've heard another person express your boundaries as the line in the sand that you will not tolerate being stepped over. Now, those boundaries protect us from unscrupulous, pretensive, toxic, shady, manipulative people around us. Maintaining and enforcing your boundaries will keep you safe. It will afford you a more stress-free life. Saying no to unwanted offers or requests or even misconduct from persons around us helps to keep our boundaries firm and not allow people to take advantage of us. This further allows you to conserve your energy for people and the things that matter to you. Let's discuss how these boundaries operate in real life. So ladies, let's just imagine that we decided to go on this date with this really cute guy who possibly ticked almost all the boxes in the standards that we set for ourselves as we previously discussed, right? So you're on this date, you're having a really good time, you're building a nice rapport, you guys have a really good connection, and you know this guy is a bit friendly, touchy-feely. He's touching you, you're not comfortable with it, but you don't say anything. He touches you on the shoulder, then it moves from the shoulder to the lap, from the lap to your inner thigh, and you're becoming really concerned about this. However, you don't say anything. So what's going to happen? That behavior is going to persist because he's trying to shoot his shot and this girl isn't saying anything about it. So guess what? This makes me feel good. I'm going to keep pushing to see where this leads me. No. This is where we go wrong as ladies. What you allow is what will continue. So this is where your boundaries come in. This is the time where you politely, however firmly, no need to be rude, that you're not comfortable with his touches and it makes you uncomfortable. Now hopefully he's a gentleman and he'll stop. And the night will finish and you both have a good time and you go your separate ways. So because you had such a great time with this guy, you decided to go on a second date with him. Now you go on this second date with this guy, really cute like I said earlier. Oh my god, he's like drop dead gorgeous, to die for. Probably on this date you guys decided to go somewhere to dance, you know, you're having a good time, and here comes the inappropriate touching again. Okay, people are going to push your boundaries. He's going to test you for a second time to see if you mean what you say and if you say what you mean. He's going to test to see how much you value yourself and know your worth. So he's going to push your boundaries a bit. It's one thing to have boundaries set up, however, it's another thing to keep them up and maintain them. If you allow him to cross those boundaries on the second occasion without reinforcing them, then he's going to go with the latter most allowance that you gave to him, which was, it is okay to touch you. When you do that, you're sending him mixed signals. You're telling him that, yeah, you have boundaries, yeah, I don't want you to touch me, but I guess you can touch me now. No. Your boundaries are your boundaries and they must be kept firm. So it's not advised at this stage to remain silent. I know you don't want to break up the connection and the vibe that you're building and you really like him at this point. However, those boundaries are those limits that you set, and not just set, you enforce and you keep enforcing. It's a continual process that's going to help mitigate and prevent you from further discomfort in the future. Here are some examples of some boundaries that you may want to set. I will not accept public humiliation, disrespect or abuse of any type. You will not go on late night dates. You will not entertain last minute invitations, not tolerating swearing in your presence or any form of obscene language. Maybe you would not entertain work emails or calls over the weekend because the weekend is your family time, so you set up a boundary there. Anything that looks like these. I'm sure you catch the drift, yes? So ladies, don't just set boundaries, enforce your boundaries. Keep your walls high, keep your boundaries firm. It's not cruel, nor is it unfair to keep your boundaries firm. Actually, it's quite the opposite. Because if you're really into this person and you'd like to pursue the relationship, we won't risk offending them, right? So with your boundaries, it's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about what's right or what's wrong for you. Like standards, boundaries are unique to each individual. How one thing affects you may affect another individual differently. Now ladies, it's very important that you ensure that your boundaries are clearly stated from the get-go, from the onset of any interactions or relations you intend to have with someone. It's going to prevent you or mitigate any problems that you may have later on. Now, persons that are having a challenge respecting your boundaries are more often than not having a challenge with enforcing boundaries of their own. However, it is not your responsibility to pat on the shoulder to cheer up a person who has a bruised ego because you decided to enforce a boundary for yourself. Boundaries are healthy for you, girlfriend. It helps to keep all the work you put into your self-care and self-love intact. So ladies, now a brief recap of the difference between your standards and your boundaries. Well, as we mentioned earlier, your standards are those minimum requirements that you've decided for yourself a person should possess before you decide to allow them access or even engage in a relationship with them. Your boundaries, however, are those walls, those fences, those are the protective barriers we build around ourselves to keep harmful, negative, predatory persons at bay. Now, don't you ever let another person talk you out or manipulate you, persuade you or otherwise out of your standards and the boundaries that you've set for yourself. Because that's just lowering your defenses and allowing any and every freeloader to take up space in your life, drain your energy, and lower your vibration. And nobody got time for that. I mean, life is already as stressful as it is. We have so many things going on in our lives. The last thing that we need right now is an energy drainer. Now ladies, disclaimer. Once you start erecting and maintaining and enforcing these boundaries, it's going to rub some people the wrong way. Because people really prefer the old version of you that would allow and accept anything. So some people are not going to be very happy about this, but you have to do it anyway. It's in your best interest. A person that does not respect your boundaries and continually keeps overstepping them is a person not respecting of your time, your energy, nor the value that you provide in that relationship. And unfortunately, this person does not deserve a space in your circle, because anyone who truly values you will not disrespect your boundaries. Ladies, the best boundaries are the ones that are firm but also movable. And what I mean by this is sometimes we may set boundaries to suit a particular circumstance and situation in our lives. Life is ever changing, so as our circumstances change, there's absolutely nothing wrong with reevaluating and redefining those boundaries so they're now better suited to cope with this new change of circumstance. Now ladies, as we bring this video to a close, please keep in mind that your boundaries and your standards are yours. They are your responsibilities, yours to set up and yours to keep enforcing. As you aim to keep others accountable to your boundaries and your standards, you also have to keep accountable to yourself. Once again, ladies, thank you so much for watching. Please, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you're not following me on my Instagram account, please go ahead and do so at the end of this video. You can find me at Diane D Legal on Instagram. I reply to every comment and every DM there, so that's a great way for us to connect. Once again, if you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please don't forget to do so. It would mean everything to me. Until we meet again, ladies, always remember, you either choose yourself or you lose yourself. Bye, my beauties.